As some of you may have noticed via my shorts, I've been playing and enjoying the Battlefield 6 open beta weekends. Battlefield is a game I've been playing since Battlefield 1942. I love this franchise, and when this franchise has a fun game, it's really fun. I've not had this much fun playing a Battlefield game since Bad Company 2. That's just my opinion. I'm sure other Battlefield fans have different previous favorites. Bad Company 2 is just mine. Today I read an article that kind of irritated me for a few reasons. Let me just say that I don't think every games journalist is inherently bad at games. I think like every other profession, skill levels may vary. You know, not every food critic is a good chef, some of them are, and I think we get the point. That being said, I think articles like this are overall negative for the player base as they incentivize people to play selfishly rather than learn and adapt how to best play around their team. I feel the TLDR of this article is basically this author is saying, I died a few times using the squad revive mechanic. I don't want to learn when the right time to squad revive is. All I want to do is recon stuff by myself, and to normalize this selfish style of gameplay, I think you should play this way too. While I disagree with what this author has to say and why, I do not wish anything ill upon them. This is not a witch hunt. This is just my response to their article. So without further ado, let's get in there. This article is called No, I Won't Revive You in Battlefield 6. Don't revive me either. Save yourself. And the author begins. My first match during the Battlefield 6 open beta was highly instructive. I learned that driving tanks is ridiculously fun, that the sun shines unfavorably on the scopes of snipers, and that if you detonate a remote charge indoors, the entire building will collapse on your head. But most importantly, I discovered a value I'll carry into the Battlefield 6 launch in October. Reviving allies is for suckers. This first match was highly instructive for this author, but more so, it just seems like the first match allowed them to make an excuse as to why they don't have to learn a new mechanic, and why they really should not worry about playing around their squad or team. I'm not a Recon main. In my experience, the large majority of Recons who play Battlefield historically are selfish, have very little positive impact for their team. I feel your average Recon hides in the back with a sniper rifle, does not help pushing objectives, and kind of just wants to hide and get a great KDA while feeling self-important. The majority of people complaining about Scope Glint giving away where they are these types of player. I personally think Battlefield 6's Recon kit is better for advancing players on the front lines than camping players on the back lines. A mobile respawn center is more useful close to an objective than far away. Recon's motion sensors are more useful close to an objective than far away. Recon in general is more useful pushing than staying back. Snipers are easily countered by flanking front lines and by teams just simply pushing up on them. The author continues. Here's how I came to understand this valuable lesson. During a round of conquest, my side progressed up the mountainsides of the Liberation Peaks map and captured more than half the objectives. Then the opposing team mounted a resistance. We were stretched across an open space with a few makeshift strongholds set up in blasted out buildings that dotted the landscape. But the other team figured out that if they kept our tank busy, it couldn't provide support. Soon, it was just down to the foot soldiers to earn their keep. My sole squadmate, a frontline fighter who called themselves, we're just gonna call this squadmate Elf, a pun on J.R. Tolkien's Elf that I very much appreciated, was downed in an open space. I'm not quite sure how, as I was busy marking enemies and eliminating a few opposing snipers like a good recon unit should. The battle in this particular area quieted down, and it seemed safe enough to bring them back from the brink, which I did, just in time for an assault unit to shoot me dead and send Elf back into the void again. Sorry, buddy. Guess you won't be seeing the Undying Lands after all. So this author does not seem to have good basic Battlefield fundamentals, and does not seem to have good map sense. What do I mean here? So a basic rule of thumb, if you attempt to res someone and you don't know who killed them, it's highly probable reviving that down player will get you killed too. We also see how self-important this author thinks they are, as not sure how Elf died, since the author is spotting and killing enemy snipers. Surely their teammate way further up than them with no motion sensor should be fine and can't be snuck up on, right? Reviving squad mates is not a black and white thing. In this situation, the author of this article should not have gone to revive this player. But this does not mean that they should never revive a squad mate. To understand concepts like this is to understand the basics of map sense and general battlefield fundamentals. Map sense is effectively having an understanding of where and how enemies may be located around the map. This is based upon the flow of the round at that time. At this time, we see dead people. We do not see an enemy. Basic map sense should tell you, don't revive the elf. The author admits it was a bad idea to go out and revive the elf, and yet they are using this as an example of why they're not interested in utilizing the squad revive mechanic. This feels like some black and white thinking from the author. Games like Battlefield have a lot of nuances and gray areas. The right time to do any given thing at any given time in any given round may not be the same. This is why developing map sense is highly important for Battlefield players who want to have a positive impact on their team's success. The author continues, "You might think that I brought this misfortune on myself and my ill-fated teammate. Well, I did. Running out into an open space in a wargame is just foolish, and doubly so in Battlefield. When the enemy team includes 30 plus people, someone's bound to see the lone red dot traipsing across open land to rescue their downed ally, even if that dot thinks no one's watching." As the author admits, yeah, they did bring that death upon themselves. It was not a good time to squad revive. I think we have growth here, people. Despite this author acting like a bit of a victim, but wait, there's more. However, as the beta weekend wore on, I noticed that the more observant players developed a strategy. They would wait a moment after downing someone, then rush to that position, having correctly predicted that a teammate would be nearby, reviving their comrade. With Battlefield 6's short time to kill, the medic being defenseless in the moment, and the nearly dead ally being, well, nearly dead, it's a given that this scenario never ended well for the reviver and the revivee, but it often turned into something much worse. While I do agree this may be the intentions of the player from time to time, as I too have exploited a downed man to get a kill on their reviver, I feel it's really more likely this author is misreading the situation due to, again, poor map sense and bias. Aggressive players and frontliners want to push up. They want to flank enemies and push through enemy ranks in order to do so. I believe this author is again developing some black and white thinking here, assuming enemies are pushing up after killing one person just to get a revive kill because that suits their narrative and excuses as to why they should not have to squad revive or learn the right time to do so. I think it's highly more likely the revive killers are a side effect of re-peeking. It's common for people to re-peek shortly after eliminating a threat in their area. It was safe for a revive when they stopped peeking, but now that they re-peeked, it's no longer safe for those attempting revives, and they might get killed in the process. The question should not be, should I revive ever? It should be, when is it safe and effective for me to squad revive? That is the gray area. The author continues. In the confused shuffling around, as others step in to fill the vacant positions, it's easy for an opponent to take advantage of newly made holes in your defense and just bust right through. I saw entire squads go down in this way, and contributed to more than a few similar demolitions of opposing squads myself. It became obvious that you end up losing more lives trying to save one. This author is so close to growing here as a player. They're so close to learning. Making holes in an enemy line is exactly the point of what frontliners do. They make holes, they push up, they flank, they give space for their team. What mechanic in Battlefield best negates an enemy push and advance? Oh yeah, the fact that we can revive people who fall down near us. If we safely revolve allies, we can theoretically hold positions better with more people. More often than not, You end up losing more lives trying to save one if your map sense is not good enough to know when to revive an ally and when not to revive an ally. Given this is Battlefield, sometimes you're just gonna get flanked and wrecked. It happens. However, that does not mean there's no point in ever pushing objectives, right? This author is formulating excuses so they do not have to learn a mechanic they are not good at, and they're trying to convince you to do the same. The author continues. I imagine the ideal revival scenario plays out where a medic or squad member drags the victim far enough away to avoid immediate danger if the opposing team gets closer, and one or more allies step in to bolster defenses. Map design can thwart that plan. Cairo's claustrophobic alleyways are easily overrun and make finding a safe spot for medical work a challenge. And Liberation Peak's open areas, as poor Elf discovered, are too dangerous to venture into without someone dedicated to give you adequate cover. Again, we're so close to this author growing as a player, but this entire article is an excuse as to why this author shouldn't. So, it is what it is. The drag mechanic is fantastic and has allowed me to move a squad mate from a non-safe position to a safe position in order to squad revive them. Even if I am playing support, sometimes it is better to squad revive and drag the teammate to safety rather than use paddles while they're still in enemy line of sight. Smoke can be a fantastic tool to provide cover in order to revive safely. Very rarely will there be a perfect, ideal revive scenario. That is why adaptation and map sense are so key. By positioning yourself correctly and understanding where enemy lines of sights are, we as players create our own ideal revive scenarios. The game is not going to do that for you. It is up to the individual to learn, adapt, and grow around the map state. The author concludes. More often than not, though, there's just too much going on for anyone who isn't in a squad, coordinating well together and remaining aware of what's going on around them to keep up and mount the necessary defense. It's just safer to let the poor soul depart and return a few moments later to take up the fight once more. So if I see you fall in Battlefield 6, I won't help you. It's for your own good and everyone else's too. So if we applied this author's same logic about squad revival to something such as pushing an objective, no one would ever win an offense during rush or breakthrough game modes. Sometimes we just don't win the round or take an objective, so why push it anyway? Why try to win? This may seem like a big jump from not reviving to not winning, but it's the same defeatist attitude. I enjoy multiplayer games such as Battlefield 6 because of other players learning and developing strategies. Game flows constantly change, and I constantly have to learn and grow. I find adapting and learning how to be a better squad/teammate part of the fun of Battlefield games. I try to mold my playstyle around my team in an effective way, not in a way that disregards them and does not find them useful, even if sometimes they are not. I play to win. So if I see you out there, author, I hope you're on the enemy team, because based on your article, I think I have a better chance of winning if you are. If you're still here, still watching, thank you so much. Please like, follow, and subscribe for more content, and take care of yourself out there.